I'm Tara.
I'm Ryan.
We love Disney movies.
So we decided to watch them all, from Snow White
to Frozen 2 and beyond. Each episode will watch a different Walt Disney Animated Studios film and tell you all about it.
Did we like it? Does it hold up? Who's our favorite hero?
Or villain.
We'll give you history and fun facts about each movie.
And sometimes we'll invite our friends to watch along with us.
So put on your tiara
or your evil crown
and join us on our adventure.
This is Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries.
Hello and welcome to a Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries MiniTale. Today, we are going over Jon Favreau's 2016's The Jungle Book. And I loved it. Like,
really
spoiler
liked it
alert.
too. Yeah, I don't think either one of us thought we were going to love it or not care for it. I think we both thought it would just be okay. And we both really, really liked it.
I thought it was just going to... I think Lion King is, I'm interested to see Lion King a little more now after seeing this, but I think everyone just assumed Lion King was going to be very like, what I've heard of it is it's just the Lion King now,
a whole new
like
story.
this. No, like it's not a new story. And this felt like they did, and I thought this was going to be the same thing where it's just the Jungle Book, now live action. But there were story changes that I thought were good. There were a little bit of character alterations here and there that were really good. I really liked it. Goodbye. Thanks for listening. No, it was great. Like I really found myself quickly, and I wasn't coming from a negative place.
Yeah, I don't think we were negative about it, but I don't think we were like really pumped about it either.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about it.
So it opens, and I don't have it beat for beat, but obviously my notes are in chronological order. But
let's talk a little bit about the differences then, because you're right. It opens. How does it open?
Well, I wanted to talk about the castle with the fireworks in the beginning.
Oh yeah, that we rewound like 3 times.
Yeah. The castle and the fireworks. You don't think those are digital?
They, going back, they might have been, but they almost looked hand animated at some point.
Yeah, but they follow the rhythm of When You Wish Upon a Star.
It seems like it'd be a lot of work to hand animate them more than it would be to look. We've made the technology that our CG looks hand animated, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
that was cool.
Yeah, it goes like ding ding ding. Ding, 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 ding. Like, as it's doing, it's like firework. Mm-hmm. Like, they're all bursting at the same times, and I noticed that one. I was like, well, let's watch that again.
Yeah, that was very cool.
It's not the one that they show now. It seemed like, because I feel like we know the one that's just the generic.
Yeah, I think this one was made specially for
Jungle Book.
This movie.
Because then it, zooms out, and it's, in the jungle
and I wonder
moving.
if they'll do the same thing with Lion King as well.
Now, the thing about this movie that I think we need to talk about first, and we've seen some behind-the-scenes features on this movie, not for this movie. Mm-hmm. If you watch The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, they will go into, the direct line that comes from this movie to The Mandalorian in its process of creating these digital environments that there's one main character kind of running through there.
And
are you looking up the name of the thing?
Mm-hmm.
Real quick on The Mandalorian, first of all, check out The Mandalorian and then watch the making of. I think it's called Star Wars Chronicles or something, but they have the first season they have an episode for each different part. They do the special effects and the casting and the directors, then this. But the one on the dome or the circle that they're in is interesting because the way The Mandalorian was made is they have all the CGI backgrounds projected onto this circle around a kind of circle in the round theater of real props that sometimes go and then touch things in that digital circle, and that part of it's rendered out in CGI.
I'm just seeing everything that's saying LED sets, but they had a name.
I feel like they did.
They did, because Jon Favreau referred to it as a name, and I can't find it quickly.
So
I keep wanting to call it the Rift, and that's not right.
I think the Rift is
from.
Well, it's from Pacific Rim. Yes. I feel like, but I also feel like the Rift. It feels like the Void is what I'm thinking of, which is that VR thing we never did because we were about to go do it, and then pandemic happened. And the last thing I want to do is stumble around blindly with something other people have been wearing that day on my face.
But it's something like that, and I'm kicking myself to not remember it. But Everything in this, I think, looked very real. It was really beautiful landscapes. I was very impressed with that, and I had to. For me, I got very swept up in the experience, and I had to keep reminding myself, that's not real. Like, Mowgli's not interacting with any of that stuff. Like, none of that is real. Like, Mowgli is on his own. He's the only human character. He's a young boy. I don't know if you want to look up the age. Did you look up the age of the actor?
I didn't. I believe his name is Neil Sitri. Neil Seti was the name of Mowgli's actor. He was 12 in this. And you're right. You said this earlier. I think it might have gotten edited out, but he's really good.
He's very good. He also, again, because nothing he's acting in is real or looks like how we see it.
Right.
That's what's wild to me.
So going back to what we were saying about how they made the Mandalorian, this was a similar idea where there were pieces of it.
This is before they developed the tech for the Mandalorian. They expanded off of this.
This was like there would be pieces of the jungle that he would interact with and climb on, and some of them would be blue screen, some of them would be actual painted out props, so they looked like they're how they are in the movie.
Like maybe when he's climbing on a tree, he gets out onto a branch, and that's like a physical thing that's there. Yeah.
And then Jon Favreau started stating, well, wait, like they kept doing, different like sizes of the room and that sort of thing. He said, well, what if we had just one place where all we had to do was move stuff around every once in a while? Like, how do we do that? And that leads to the Mandalorian.
Which is them in a giant dome of a screen that makes you feel like the actors makes them feel like they're in that real place wherever they're filming.
Well, they also render out everything before, so you're seeing stuff, and they
in the right perspective.
They have perspectives on the camera so that when the camera moves, it moves around. I don't know that they did that here in this movie. I think they didn't, and that's why they wanted to figure out how to do it. Was he wanted to be able to move his camera in more ways and not have to build a whole new set based around what he was thinking.
And he worked with ILM to do
with ILM to do the Mandalorian thing.
Not with this.
I don't know. So we're going to get away from the Mandalorian, and I'm going to tell you some things I do know about this one.
Sorry.
Because you were saying he didn't work with anybody. He didn't. He didn't work with, he worked with puppets. Jim Henson Creature Shop made big puppets for him to interact with that were the size of the animals. Now, I don't know what they looked like. I haven't seen any pictures. I bet they were all like blue fuzz so that they could be edited out. But like the size and the scale of all the creatures he's interacting with.
They're huge.
Yes.
And it makes you feel very small in a big jungle, which I think was
on purpose.
Yeah.
They grew all the animals 30% larger than they are in real life so that they would get this kind of scale thing that felt really big.
Yeah.
And I think it worked pretty well. Sometimes I went like, that monkey wouldn't be that big, or every once in a while.
Yeah, for the most part though, but I thought like Mowgli in comparison to Bagheera in comparison to Baloo, like I thought those ratios were fine.
Right.
But Bagheera's the narrator, and
played by Ben Kingsley. Let's talk about his voice real quick.
Yeah.
I thought that was
perfect.
Great voice acting.
Great.
Like he did this kind of
almost
growl.
all the voices I thought matched very well to the characters.
Almost.
Bill Murray was Baloo, and I absolutely loved that. I could listen to Bill Murray all day long. I don't know how much I loved Christopher Walken.
I'm with you.
Like, I don't know. Christopher Walken's voice is so specific that it almost takes you out of the experience because you know it's Christopher Walken. Yes, I knew it was Idris Elba. Yes, I knew it was Benjamin Kingsley and Bill Murray, but I still feel like even with Bill Murray, because Bill Murray's a similar kind of voice of Christopher Walken where you hear two words and you know who it is. And I feel like Bill Murray did enough for me, and maybe it's because I like Bill Murray more. I don't know. Like, I like his voice more. But for me, he did enough to make it enjoyable and playful.
Well, Bill Murray also envelops that character better. The character of King Louie in this is this big, monstrous figure. He's what was the word they used?
Giganticon? No, that's not right.
That sounds like a comic book convention for giants.
Yeah, it's something like that.
He's playing because orangutans don't exist in India, and King Louie is a invention of Disney. Like that's why they did it there. He wanted it to be more representative of actual animals you saw in India, so they made up this Gigantopithecus. That sounds
maybe
right.
That's it. Yeah, because it rhymes with something else in the song.
Yes, and it's a extinct large ape that used to exist.
Yeah.
But it's this huge, the idea is he's this huge monstrous figure, and Christopher Walken has such a distinct voice
And a
immediately
speech
puts
pattern.
that puts the image of Christopher Walken in your head. Christopher Walken is like this spindly like scarecrow figure,
and
he didn't do anything different to make it like you brought up when in the scene with him where he's like, I'm gonna tell you, you bring me the flour, I'll take care of you. Like you said you're like, this feels like a Godfather moment, and it should have sounded like Brando.
Yeah, because it did feel like he's this big ominous creature. He has all these like underlings, all these monkeys doing his bidding. He's got all the ears. You find out in the jungle, he knows everything that's going on because there's a million monkeys out in the jungle. And to me, it very much felt like he was like, you do me a favor, I'll do you a favor kind of a thing. Like a quick pro quo, I'm getting tongue-tied, about the fire, about Mowgli getting the red flower and getting the fire for him. And I think if it went in that direction with Christopher Walken's voice and he got a little darker or another voice, I think that could have been really cool.
Well, I didn't put this together at the time, but that's actually a Brando reference. That's supposed to be like Apocalypse Now. Where he's like,
I've not seen that.
His body's in he's this huge, massive, he's like in shadow, and then he kind of leans forward out of the shadow, and that's the first time you reveal his face. Like that's directly an Apocalypse Now reference.
So I did like how he was designed. I thought it was very cool to have him that big, especially when later on he chases Mowgli through the ruins and just basically creates more ruins.
Well, yeah, he's squeezing through a small space, which is like, some people I think have a phobia about that.
Yeah, and I think on a big screen, like if you saw it in the movie theater, I bet it was really cool. I think a lot of this, if you had seen it in the movie theater, I don't know if they would ever re-release it, but I would definitely go see it in the theater if they did.
It's a visually arresting film. Like I very much liked it visually when I gotta stop seeing like trailers to this and being like, oh, it's just like like I said, I'm excited to see Lion King now to see like if it is as much of a surprise as this was. I forgot what I was going to say about him chasing him. Oh, I was going to say, you said you liked the design, but you didn't like Christopher Walken. You did like Ooby Doo, like when he sings.
Ooby Doo. The first time he did it, I just burst out laughing, and then the song comes again at the end of the credits.
Yes, when he sings, I want to be like you, and he's like, oh, Ooby Doo.
I mean, he sings it, right? He sings it, and that's fine because if anyone knows his version of Captain Hook, I'm obsessed with Captain Hook, and it was not great.
Yeah,
so,
when he did Peter Pan Live, it was rough.
So once I realized, I did not know it was him or forgot that he was in this. And as soon as I heard his voice, I was like, oh, are they going to do the song? Like, how is that going to go? I will say it wasn't terrible because he kind of talks through it and they don't do the whole song. However, I do kind of wish it was a different voice.
He also had more than one take, as opposed to a live Peter Pan.
Yes,
where
that's very
true.
Like,
here you go.
It's just, you got to do it. Yeah. So the story, what I really like what they focused on, which was very different from the original, was talking about the law of the jungle. And I think you were saying that is from the second book, potentially.
I think that there's a poem, The Law of the Jungle, in the second book.
And so it's very much like, this is the order of the jungle, and Mowgli's with the wolf pack. The other thing I like about the wolf pack is the dad is protective of Mowgli. In the original, the dad kind of shuns and ignores Mowgli, and we don't get a lot of interactions with the wolves in the original. Yes. But in this one, the father is as protective as the mother. The father is like very protective of Mowgli. When Shere Khan first comes around, he hides Mowgli to try to make sure Shere Khan doesn't see him.
Yes.
I really enjoyed that dynamic between the wolf pack, and Mowgli felt very much one with the pack. He was a little different because he's a man and can't do everything wolves can do, but I think they did a good job with that.
And that's, I think, the point of this is, at the beginning, it's, the wolf is a part of the pack is a part of the wolf. And the idea is Mowgli is trying to be a wolf.
Yeah, and the strongest wolf.
You can't be a wolf. And he's like, what I can do all these other things. I'm very smart. I know how to use tools.
And they call him his tricks.
Yes. And I think what the movie does that's interesting is like, the wolves had the right idea, but they needed to expand the definition of what a pack is, because by the end, the pack is
all
Mowgli,
the animals.
Bagheera, and they all rise up against Shere Khan. And I think there's a great part. I'm jumping ahead, but when we'll get there. And I think that was interesting because it is like, a lot of Disney movies lately now are about finding your place, and like I think for a long time it was like becoming useful, and now it feels more like there's a lot of like what you do is useful, and there's like a bigger family unit than just the family, than just the wolf pack. I think in
Mm-hmm.
2016, which just came out, when this came out, like that's a better story. Like Mowgli's never going to be a wolf, but Mowgli has a place in this.
Yeah, and they talk about, you know, if the wolf is strong, the pack is strong. If the wolf
Yeah.
is weak, the pack is weak. So it's like this whole thorough line, like it goes through the whole film. The other thing I really liked is the peace rock. I loved this idea of it was a very dry, you know, they didn't have any rain, and when there's no rain, this rock shows. All of a sudden, the drought.
Yeah, the river goes away and there's a rock
down,
under it.
And when that rock appears, that means that water is more important than eating. So all the animals come together to drink, and it's an unspoken rule that they don't attack one another. They don't.
Yeah.
You know, they don't come for one another. And I really liked that a lot. And that location is kind of central to the movie because that's where we go back to in the end when Mowgli battles Shere Khan for the last time.
Well, you also liked it because the water's down, everyone's there, and then Bagheera enters and he kind of comes in between. Like
He comes very quickly in, like he would if he was.
Yeah,
trying
a
to-
group of antelope or something,
Yes.
and they all go, hey, you remember the truce, right? Like,
Yeah, he's like,
very
don't be
funny.
silly or something. I forget what he says, but he's like, of course
yes,
I
yes.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a lot of humor in this. There were with all the different animals and the way people interacted, the way the animals interacted with one another.
They refer to them as people, like
Yeah.
more than once, which I thought was interesting. Because the whole thing is Mowgli needs to find a people. Like from the beginning, they say Bagheera brought Mowgli to the wolves because he needed a people. He needed, his
he needed
pack.
to belong to someone. And so the other thing I really liked with the design of Mowgli is he had scars, and you said that the scars were meant to resemble something.
The one on his chest looks like a lowercase R, and the one on his shoulder looks like a K, and it's supposed to be for Rudyard Kipling,
who wrote the Jungle Book.
the Jungle Book.
So, and I like that he looks beat up. I mean, he looks dirty too, but I like that because he's been living in the jungle, right? And so that makes sense. And throughout the film, he does get hurt. He does get marked up. And I think that really adds to the believability and like really puts you in that experience with him.
So, a little off topic, I just brought up my notes, and I'm really bummed that I didn't bring this up while we were watching it. One of the treasures in King Louie's temple is the genie's lamp from Aladdin.
Oh,
I'm really sorry I didn't say to
that's
look out
okay.
for it.
That's fine.
So, listeners, when you go and watch it, you see if you can find it.
That's fun. I also liked, we find this backstory, and I can't remember, was this in the original that Mowgli's father is the one who burned
I don't know
Shere
if it's
Khan?
I don't know if it's in the Jungle Book. I think so. One thing we should talk about is a year or so around the same time there was another live action motion capture Jungle Book done by Andy Serkis, who recently dropped the Venom 2, but he also he was the motion capture for for Caesar in the new Planet of the Apes series. He was the motion capture for Gollum in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay.
Big motion capture guy, but he directed one that went straight to Netflix and had an interesting cast, so I watched part of it. It's very weird, but the thing in the first one is Bagheera saves Mowgli after Shere Khan kills like his family.
Okay, and that's similar here, but it's just Mowgli's father.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they don't really reveal that till as we go through the movie.
Yeah, we're a good ways into the movie, and I like the reveal there. Again, if you don't want any spoilers, then I would suggest, well, we've probably already given you some. So,
I'm gonna post the scene where Shere Khan comes and is like, "Give me the man cub, like I get to eat him." Because it's Benedict Cumberbatch is Shere Khan in that one. And he's like, I have tasted his mother's blood. Like, he says it in like the most weirdest way possible.
Yeah.
And I like watch it on a loop, like, why did it feels almost like they cut two takes together, because he's like, I have tasted her mother's blood. Like, he changes his voice so much.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
So I thought you were talking about the other one, because what I was going to say is we don't find out about Mowgli's backstory in this one.
You're right. I was talking about that one when I said that.
Oh, okay.
But I just want to make sure, like, so what I'm saying from the Andy Serkis version is I think that maybe that means that is something from the book.
Got it.
Because I know Jon Favreau said he wanted to integrate more stuff from the book into this one. Ka has the ability to like see your past when
and that's where I was going next.
Yes.
Was with Ka, because
that's from the book.
Okay, because when we see Ka, and Ka is
he finds a giant snakeskin first, and it set Tara on edge.
I was just like, when's Ka coming? When's Ka coming? And spoiler, Ka doesn't come right away, but you kind of sense it because everything gets quiet and it's dark and Mowgli's alone. And I'm like, okay, he's seen this snakeskin, and snakeskin's huge. And I was like, nope, no, thank you.
Have you ever seen Anaconda?
Yes.
With your girl J-Lo.
Yeah.
I
loved that movie when I watched it.
We've got Paramount Plus recently, and it was on there, so I watched it the other day while I was working. And I just, as soon as like I saw that scene, because there's that scene, there's like, this is how big. It's like Ice Cube being like, this is how big this thing is, and John Voight with his weird like Peruvian accent of his like, that is much bigger since then. Anaconda. Like, that's the first thing I thought of when I pulled up that scene. I go, Anaconda. Like, just thinking of John Voight.
But yeah, so what I really liked is it was Scarlett Johansson. So it was a woman versus a male snake, and I really liked that a lot. And I just thought her delivery of the line, she's not in it for very long. And I really appreciate it, how she delivered the lines. It was reminiscent of the original, but then she did kind of her own take on it. And her voice just paired very well with this like calming and hypnotizing quality.
I think if you didn't know the original, there's a chance you wouldn't suspect she was sinister.
Yeah.
Which I thought was an interesting take.
Yeah, well, and that's how she gets Mowgli in. And also we see a scene previous to that. Mowgli's very naive when he's in the jungle alone. He tries to share fruit with an animal, and then that animal distracts him. Yeah. That animal distracts him, so the other ones in that animal's pack can steal what Mowgli has gotten for himself. So there are some moments where Mowgli is kind of learning. And with Ka, that's how we find out Mowgli's past, and Baloo is the one who saves Mowgli from Ka.
I love this version of Baloo.
I do too.
I love the original Baloo. I think we talked about that, how much better of a character I think he like how much I grew to appreciate him. But this con man version of Baloo,
it's really good.
Like, he's not being malicious to Mowgli, but he is kind of conning him into getting the honey for him.
Well, what we find out, it's such a good bit, and it happens over and over again. But when Mowgli is first, it's very, very high up, and Mowgli uses one of his tricks again. He's got all these creative ways, like humans, like man, building things with tools, and using vines and like braiding them together to make rope. And so he's figuring all this stuff out, and he's trying to get the honey at the top, and Baloo tells him that the bees won't sting him. And so that's not true. So Mowgli's up there and he goes, they're stinging me. And he goes, you got this. And all of a sudden, all these little animals who like are friends with Baloo are like, oh, he's got another monkey up there. And they're like, it's not a monkey, it's a man cub. And it just keeps happening to where you realize Baloo has tricked so many monkeys.
Right.
No wonder the monkeys are upset with him when he goes to King Louie.
That's right. I didn't think of that.
I didn't think of that either. But, we realize that Baloo has done this con before. And he's pretty amazed, I think, at Mowgli, even though he's kind of conned him. And the whole thing is, I saved your life. Now you have to do this thing for me. I hibernate. We find out later he doesn't really hibernate. He just wanted all this
honey. He's like,
honey.
well, I nap a lot in the winter.
Yeah. So, but they become a very strong duo very quickly.
But he also progressed. He also, granted, it's for his own means, but he's also like, why don't you? He's like, why do you got to follow the law of the pack? Like, if you're good with these tools, be good with these tools
and
like,
stay here. Yeah, and he shows him where the man village is, and he says, "Look, you can go there or you can stay." He's like, "It's your choice, but now you know where it is. So if you want to go, you can go. You don't need somebody to take you there."
So they cut to this system they've devised of like a pulley
really
system
good.
Of him up there, but it's not as good as the palm leaf protective.
Yes, so he doesn't get stung.
Which this sounds so ridiculous. I had no interest in like any toy from this, but I want the palm, like him with the
Mowgli,
hat, the Mowgli
wearing
like protective gear. He starts doing that, and Bagheera finds him. Bagheera has lost him because Shere Khan
came for
him, which is a pretty intense scene.
There's a lot of intense moments. I will say that I don't believe this is one for younger kids because there are just a lot of dark moments when Shere Khan kills the dad wolf. I don't remember his name. Kira?
Akita, I think. There's no blood,
but he hurls him,
bites into him and throws him off.
It's really intense. And there's a couple other moments like that. Shere Khan's death is intense.
Shere Khan has huge teeth.
Yeah.
And I feel like in the thing, like he's got huge canines or felines, I guess. But they're like, not saber tooth, but like very large. So whenever he, bites into something, it's not like a cartoon where you can kind of fudge it or do anything like.
His teeth sink into.
Think about how deep.
Because that happens with Baloo too when he gets Baloo.
Hey
later
guys,
on.
For those of you who are kind of over the Baloo fake dies in the one, there's no mistaking. Like they come back to me. He's like, like he's fine. There's no come on, Baloo.
Yeah,
that's another thing. I liked Neil Sethi like so much as Mowgli.
He was so good.
I feel like
Mowgli.
I was a little annoyed by Mowgli. And he felt like in the 1967 version.
What I loved about Mowgli is his relationship with each animal was different. I loved his relationship with Bagheera because it was even though the wolves raised him and he considered them mother and father, he had the relationship. I don't have kids, but I've observed kids where kids just ask a million questions. And anytime he interacted with Bagheera, it was like, well, why are we going here? And what are you doing? And but like rapid fire questions. And there was one that I loved where he was like, and I know you're keeping things from me. Don't think I didn't notice. Like he had a really strong relationship with all of these characters that are not real, that were either puppets or just digitally created. People. It was wild to me.
You were talking about like, boy, this kid must have gone through a lot. And there were times when he was getting tired on set and they'd be like, all right, we got, he's their main star. They got to pump him up. So they would pump a song over the speakers in there to kind of and have a little dance party to
I love
get him
that.
up. Do you know what his favorite song was?
No, what?
Boom. Bum, 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 bum. So they play Uptown Funk anytime they wanted. They'd be like, all right, we're taking Uptown Funk break. And they'd like get him more energized. We're going to do a few more takes.
I mean, because when you think about it, it's all him. Do you know what I mean? Like there's so much with that child. It's so good. The other thing that I really like is the elephants play an important part. And we meet them early on and Bagheera immediately bows to them. And Mowgli doesn't really understand why. And Bagheera explains that they basically created the jungle in the sense of everything we have is because of them. And they just have this, well,
they say it's like a creation myth. They talk about like the elephants dug the with their tusks dug the furrows that the rivers came from and stomped down the trees and planted them in other places and this and that and the other, which I'm curious if that's some sort of like Hindi religion or something in there, like if that's some sort of creation myth I'm just not familiar with, or if they made it up completely for this movie.
Yeah, listeners, if you know, get at us.
707 yo TRPD1. That's 707 yo TRPD1.
But I like that they show the respect to the elephants, and that comes back into play later on as well. I just probably have a few more things. I don't know what else you have.
I have a couple facts. I'm going to see if you can guess this. At the end, we stayed and we listened. By the way, the final credits.
Oh, definitely watch through the final credits.
Because the first thing they do is... So one thing we really liked... I'm going to back up a little bit. One thing we really liked was... At the end of the movie, Mowgli stays with the animals.
Yeah, Mowgli stays in the jungle, and we never see him grow up as a man. We see it ends with him as a boy still.
I don't know if we're setting up a sequel. Like it's 5 years later.
Yeah,
so I feel
I'm
like
not
he's
sure.
going to be in his 20s if they do a sequel eventually.
But I enjoy that he stays with the animals. I enjoy he finds his place, and essentially
Baloo also finds his way into the pack. Like,
yes.
Baloo is welcomed in because he climbs that tree. And
and I think we should talk about the ending a little bit. Mowgli,
right?
When he finds out that Shere Khan has killed his father. Basically, that's why Shere Khan did it. He knew that would bring Mowgli back to him, basically. Mowgli goes to the man village, and he gets fire. And he gets it on, what are those called? You go
sconce,
through a cave.
torch.
Yeah, a torch, I guess. And he runs through the jungle, and he doesn't know about fire enough.
Run through the jungle.
Oh. He doesn't know enough about fire that when he's running, the embers are blowing and they are dropping in the jungle, and he creates a very large forest fire.
That part was a little cartoonish because he runs with the group. Like, I've come to fight Shere Khan, and they're all looking at him, and Shere Khan's like, I think they're more afraid of you. And he turns around and like the whole jungle's on fire. And it's like, oh.
But
oops.
I think they're also afraid because all of the animals, they go to the Peace Rock, they go to the water because they hear that man is coming. So they don't know it's Mowgli. And then when they see it's Mowgli, but they see he's got fire, I think it's this very confusing thing for the animals because they're deathly afraid of fire. They know what red flower can do, and now Mowgli's got it. And so the last they knew, Mowgli was going to the village.
Right.
So they don't really know what's happened between then and this moment.
So Mowgli throws the torch in the water to be like, I'm not like that. I'm
Yeah,
here
I'm
to fight
not gonna-
you, Shere Khan. And he's very brave. He's like, he's going to fight him by himself.
And I feel like he was brave in the original, too, at that part.
Yeah, but he felt more like, like he didn't know
I
anything.
agree
Like
with
this
you.
felt like he was brave. He had courage.
Yeah,
he
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
just the fine line between bravery and stupidity.
Yeah.
And then Shere Khan's gonna attack him. He's like, you don't have fur, you don't have claws, you don't have teeth, you don't have nothing. What do you have? And then Baloo starts reciting, and I got a little like,
I know when Baloo starts reciting the law
pack.
of the jungle,
Yeah.
and then all of the animals of all different types start reciting it, and so now you've got this giant pack of animals against Shere Khan.
there's a great line reading from Idris Elba where Baloo starts stepping in to do it, and Idris Elba is like, what is this? Like, it's so good. It's so, like, what's happening? Like,
Yeah, because I don't think Shere Khan ever thought that all the animals would gang up against him, right? I think he saw it playing out very differently. And the other thing I really like is this whole time Bagheera has said, you have to be a wolf, you have to be this, you can't use your tricks. The wolves say don't use your tricks.
the
And in
wolves
this
run
moment,
as a pack, and he goes with them, and it's like, oh no, Mowgli. And
what in this moment is when Bagheera says, be a man, use your tricks.
he goes, don't fight him as a wolf, fight him as
as
a
a man. And it just gave Mowgli permission. He's
Yeah.
used to getting in trouble, and I love his tricks. I love all the little things that they did to build to this moment.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, it's not just one thing, it's everyone coming together.
Yeah.
It's be who you are, and there's an important place in that. It's like not putting one over the other. There's a lot of things that come together at the end that I think work really well. It was great. I loved it. And
So now do we want to go over the ending credit scene?
so we get to the ending credits, and it's the book closes on the Jungle Book, and they I don't know if they got the same book or if they just redesigned the book, but it's meant to look like the book that opens at the beginning
of the original.
because it doesn't close at the end. And Jon Favreau said, well, we have to close it on ours then. But then it opens up again. It becomes this pop-up book. And
For the credits.
and
And,
they're
the King
digging-
Louie song plays.
Ooby-doo.
Yeah. Oh, that was
And-
pretty good.
And it's kind of comedic and funny. There's a
But
part
you're seeing all the different animals.
Yeah.
Each page flips over, and it's a different kind of landscape of the jungle with the different animals
Mm-hmm.
that you've met along the way.
It's a lot of fun. And then they go into Trust in Me by Scarlett Johansson, which she doesn't sing in the movie.
But it's a great version of the song.
But there's another thing to talk about is they incorporate it into her instrumental theme as she's hypnotizing
Yeah.
them. The original 1967 score is put
Throughout the film
is-
in
yeah.
very different ways, and I really like the score a lot.
really well
It's very
done.
thoughtfully done.
So that's just lovely. But then it comes to the third thing where we turned it off because it's Dr. John, famed white jazz pianist, singing Bare Necessities. This is the second live action remake, a Disney remake that Dr. John has had a song in. Can you tell me the first one?
Have we seen it?
Yes.
Was it in the movie, or was it at the end of the
movie. It was in the opening or ending credits.
Give me a hint.
Cruella de Vil.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, so he's been with us since the beginning.
Wow.
I think this is the type of music that Jon Favreau likes, so I think like that makes a lot of sense. Like you listen to the Chef soundtrack, I think there's Dr. John in that. I have another fact because I think it's like the motion capture of the performances. That's the other thing when I put up the Mowgli one, you guys will see the difference in quality of performance and the visual effects.
Mm-hmm.
between that one and the Disney version. I thought like Shere Khan's fear at the end of falling off the tree was very subdued.
Yeah, and also Shere Khan, we should say, because he was burned by Mowgli's father, the design of him where he's kind of got like one white eye and his nose is burned and
he's
his
got fur missing from his face.
From where he was burned. And there was a lot of design put into all of the animals, and I think a lot of them felt real. I did make a comment early on that to me, Bagheera felt the least real out of all of them. And I think Ryan brought up a good point. I was like, he kind of reminds me of Thackeray Binks, like the cat version of him. And Ryan brought up a good point that it may be more difficult because he's solid black to get the shading. I think as the movie went on, I think that changed for me. But in the beginning, there were a couple moments where I was like, I don't know.
I can't go with you there because I started like really keying in on him and I thought he was really good.
I loved his eyes.
It was also, yes, when he opens his eyes, it's kind of
and
like
I love his movement. I think the fur for me in the beginning, I will say as the movie went on, I didn't feel that way. But in the first couple minutes, I felt that way.
I love that catwalk with the shoulders that like cross over like that. So what was I going to say? The rhinoceroses, the rhinoceri, were the least convincing to me, and it might be because I watch a lot of rhinoceros.
Yeah, I didn't pay much attention to them. I'll be honest.
And there was one shot of a deer near the end that I went, oh, like, and every once in a while it'll pop up, but you get so lost in it. I think it's just they're really good performances. But I wanted to say that there are no real animals in this movie, and because of that, Jon Favreau got an award from PETA. Not my most favorite organization, but I thought this was fun either way. That was a Innovation in Film Award for using all CGI animals so that no real animals were used during production.
That's great. Can I ask a dumb question that you can edit out?
Yeah.
Sometimes you say...
Do animals talk in real life?
No. Sometimes you say CGI, and sometimes you just say CG. And I noticed Marjorie always said CG. And I always say CGI because whenever I read it in notes, it's CGI. What's the difference?
I think CGI, I actually don't know if CG is a correct term. I think it's correct to say CGI because it's computer-generated imagery.
So is
and
CG
I think when
just
I say
a
CG,
shorthand?
I think computer graphics.
Oh, so I thought this whole time that they were the same thing.
I mean, not
when people
directly, but I
them.
think they're referring to the same thing when they say that.
Okay.
I think CGI is the correct term.
Okay.
Get at us, listeners. Let's keep this in.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you can keep this in. I was confused.
Yeah, get at us if I'm wrong. I've been wrong in the past. It might happen again. I think we're getting close to the end. Is there anything else you wanted to say to wrap up?
No, I would just say if you have Disney Plus, it's on there. Go watch it. Especially if I think whether you enjoy the Jungle Book story or not, I think this is different enough that you'll get something out of it either way.
I think if you got a young tween, they might enjoy it too. Like 10 to 12 is probably an okay age for this.
Yeah, I always get hesitant to say ages because I'm so
Look,
bad with
your
kids.
kid.
Yeah, we don't have kids. But
before we go, can we talk about? So I wanted to say, if you could rank this Shere Khan, I think he would rank higher than the original Shere
Agreed,
Khan.
100%.
I think he would lose any funny points.
Yes, he would get no funny points, but he is very frightening. I loved his design. I loved the fierceness.
Yeah.
What is that? What is that
Confidence,
one? But what do we call it when we rate it?
Fierce.
Yeah. The fierceness of him. Yeah, he would have gotten high marks, I think, on almost every category.
The scene where he is like just killed the pack leader and he's kind of like, I'm in charge now, whatever. And then it's the mother wolf wakes up and all of her cubs are up and he's like,
except for the one, and the one is just like mama, like they're all up there.
Actual Jon Favreau's kid.
Yeah,
and they're all up there and he's like telling him a story about like, here's what I think about deer.
I have it written down.
It's cuckoos. He goes, cuckoos, they lay an egg in other nests so that they take over the nest, all because the mother couldn't give away a child that wasn't hers, and like he goes, looks right at her.
All because the mother loved a chick that was not her own.
Yeah.
Because basically the other cuckoos, the other birds starve because that bird
Kicks him out of the nest.
kicks them out of the nest to feed the cuckoo.
Yes.
And when he
No, the
says,
cuckoo kicks him out.
oh, excuse me, yes. When he says that line, he looks her
He looks
dead in the
right
eyes.
at her and maintains eye contact for the rest of the scene. Because then she calls the wolves away and they all leave, and he just like puts a paw in front of the one.
Yeah.
And just stares at her, and then he moves
goes,
it away.
And then he goes, I think they like me. And I was like,
It
oh.
is such a power move, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like,
yeah,
it's
it was
a
really
lot.
good.
So check this one out, guys. Let us know what you think. You know, Facebook 707 Yo TRPD1, wherever you want to let us know.
Email us.
Absolutely. All that information is coming up in a little bit. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, and tell a friend about us. That really helps our little podcast. But until next time, we'll see you around.
Take care, listeners.
Thanks for listening to Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries.
If you want to tell us your favorite Disney villain and why it's guest on, send us an email at trprincessdiaries@gmail.com.
Or you can send a tweet about how great Maleficent is to @TRPDiaries.
Check out our Facebook group by searching for Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries.
Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries are available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Overcast, and many more.
Wherever you hear us, please be our knight in shining armor and give us a 5-star review.
Thanks again, and until next time, remember to always live happily ever after.